right, so here we have the kit. So this is from FunnyPlaying here. This is the TFT screen mod for the Game Boy Advance. Now this actually uses the screen from the DSI, and I actually already tested one and it looks really good. So it's comparable to the Game Boy Advance SP, of course with the better colors and no ghosting. And we're gonna be putting it in this Game Boy here. The lens is pretty beat up and I do have a new one that I'll be putting it on. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one apart, and I'll fast forward to taking it apart because I'm pretty sure you know how to do that one. Alright, so here's the board, and the kit does come with the 32 and 40 pin ribbon cables or connectors. So, and you can easily see here on your Game Boy how many pins you have or what kind of connector you have. So you would either have a 32 or a 40 pin, or number 40 here. So this is a 32 pin. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the correct pin out of here, or the cable. I'm also gonna get these wires out, and these are the wires that come with it. So we're gonna get 3 wires here. So it's gonna be for the left, right, and the select button. Now these ribbon cables, they do have a touch sensor on them that you can use for to adjust brightness, but it's gonna be pretty much laying in here with the extension port once you put in the cable. Alright, so here's the board, and the kit does come with the 32 and 40 pin ribbon cables or connectors. So, and you can easily see here on your Game Boy how many pins you have or what kind of connector you have. So you would either have a 32 or a 40 pin, or number 40 here. So this is a 32 pin. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the correct pin out of here, or the cable. I'm also gonna get these wires out, and these are the wires that come with it. So we're gonna get 3 wires here. So it's gonna be for the left, right, and the select button. Now these ribbon cables, they do have a touch sensor on them that you can use for to adjust brightness, but it's gonna be pretty much laying in here with the extension port once you put in the cable. But actually I never got it to work properly because the body here is a bit too thick for the sensor to pick up your finger. So if you'd want to still use a touch sensor, you can actually solder on a wire where it says T on there. And I actually use just a small piece of metal. You can find anything really. I mean, obviously I just something the size of this, or you can actually well, this probably is gonna work the best. A piece of metal like this. I do have somewhere here. It's a small piece of metal tin that I use. So something like that. You just toss it on there and bam, you got a huge sensor. Obviously not, but you just really need a small piece, because this metal, it's a lot more thicker than this tiny little touch sensor here. So it's gonna pick up your finger a lot better. And really you can, once you get the little piece, let me see if I can cut a small piece off here somewhere. Really you need just a small piece like that. I'm not gonna use it this time because I just use the select left and right triggers. But if you really wanted the touch sensor, so you just solder on a wire from the pad here, from T onto this, and you can really just place it whatever you want, you know, along the bottom or on the top here. I guess just to your preference. And it's just gonna work just like this sensor here, and it's gonna work a lot better. And I had a lot better luck using that, you know, versus the sensor it comes with. Okay, so before we start putting everything together here, I'll go ahead and, because we need to trim the body here, I'm gonna take all the buttons out. And I use all the same buttons in membrane, because they are a lot better than the replacements you can get. They are a bit higher and just feel much better. I never really liked those replacements. And you can probably get something better, higher quality, but I've just been sticking to the original. And I got plenty of replacements, you know, if some were broken. And so let's go ahead and get the screen out of here. You just kind of wiggle it. Don't go too crazy, because you can. I did crack a body once. Went too, kind of twisting it too much, and it snapped right here. So just kind of be gentle. But you can twist it, and it should crack up. But I'm not going to be saving this one, because it looks like the polarizer is going bad already. You know, you can replace the polarizers on the screens, but it's not worth it for me. So if you don't want to mess with it, you can just kind of pry it up a little bit here. I guess I should use this. I did save a bunch of these screens already, because eventually, you know, I think somebody's gonna want an original screen, and I'll probably have a bunch of them. So this one, if they're in good condition, I keep them. But if the polarizers need to be replaced, I just toss them out. Probably shouldn't, but oh well. So this one's no good. And we're gonna go ahead and take the lens out. You should really, if you want to be gentle with it, heat it up, and it will come up a lot easier. But you can use your fingers and apply some pressure either in the middle or on the sides here, and it will come right off. Okay, and for the trimming, this is what we're gonna need to do. So if you're using the original body, these have the raised section here, so it goes along the bottom and on the right side. Depends which way you're looking at it, but it kind of goes along the side and the bottom here. So that needs to be filed down, and then a section, where we at, right here. So this section right here, you can cut the whole piece off, but it doesn't need to be, just the half, because the screen will be laying up against here. It doesn't go all the way to the bottom, so I just usually do the half here. So cut it all the way down, and then we gotta cut this section off. So from kind of the top where the speaker is at, so from here to the bottom of the speaker, or basically, yeah, where the corner is at. And you kind of gotta have to go in to the speaker, a little bit to the speaker as well. So you're gonna be going about this far up and about up to here, and cut that raised portion off. And it's gonna be a little bit in the way of the speaker, but the speaker kind of tucks right on underneath. It's not gonna be the actual screen here, just be the ribbon cable from the screen. So you can tuck the speaker right underneath the ribbon cable, and it works just fine. So I'm actually going to be using a Dremel, and I'm just going to file this section down from here. And you can use an X-Acto knife. Got to be really careful because this thing will cut you up. But I'm going to go ahead and use the Dremel to file this section down, and then I'm going to be using the knife to cut the portion out here. Forgot, or skipped at least, that the bottom here, so from where this to the select and start button, there's a little raised section here, so along all the bottom, so this section here, all of this needs to be cut off as well. So from the start select button in corner all the way down to basically we're gonna cut the section here by the speaker. And I'm gonna go ahead and use a Dremel for this as well. And you can use X-Acto knife if you don't have a Dremel, you don't want to use a Dremel. You just cut the corners in, and then you work your knife in there, and then you can use pliers and it will just snap right off. But I'm gonna go ahead and use the Dremel to cut that off. All right, so it's pretty rough once you go over it with the Dremel, and I usually go in and touch it up with the X-Acto knife, just kind of make all these corners here nice and clean and get rid of any plastic gunk, because it cuts and then also kind of melts it a little bit, but you know, it's a lot faster. So just kind of, I'll go in there, touch it all up. But you know what, since we're here, let's go ahead and I'm gonna cut this section here. And like I said, be really careful with this knife. I usually just put it in, push down, and wiggle back and forth, up and down, and it'll slowly start to cut in there. Now if you have a transparent body here or shell like this one, or you know, you really want to be careful working kind of around this area here, because inside the lens will cover this, but around the speaker, around here, if you're going to be cutting it, you don't want to scratch this here too much, because it's going to show, you know, from the outside, and you're going to be able to see those scratches, and it's not clean. So just be gentle, take your time. You don't want to mess it up and have all those scratches in there. So just kind of go in there slowly. If you nick it a little bit, it's fine. You just don't want any deep cuts inside the body. Okay, and then you're also, so once you cut a little notch in there, I usually just take some pliers, and it's gonna snip right off. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little notch in here as well. So just basically lining up the top of the speaker section here. Just kind of do the same. Work your way in there slowly. So once you got the little notch in there as well, then what I do is basically kind of just score the bottom of that area. I'm gonna get this piece out here, this debris. So you just kind of score the bottom from where you cut all the way to the end. Just I'll do it like 3, 4, well, more than 3, 4, probably like 5, 6 times. That way you're gonna be able to just snap it off. So do that, and then you're gonna go back to the speaker, and you're gonna cut into the speaker a little bit. So we'll do about that much, you're gonna go ahead and do the same thing, just cut straight in here as well on the bottom. It's a little easier since it's a little thinner. And then you're also gonna want to score it a little bit inside the speaker. Just be gentle. Do that. So now you should be able to just snap right off with the pliers. Okay, so once that is cut in there, so it's gonna look something like this. So you got a pretty wide opening here, and all this is flush, you know, with the shell, because this is gonna be where, like I said, the ribbon cable for the screen is gonna be coming right in here. And then also you have these little bumps here. They're on this wall section here, these little guide bumps, and you actually want to file them down with the knife as well, so all this is nice and flush and straight. So it's going to be in this section here, and you have one on top, I believe one on the corner here as well. So just go ahead with the knife and just kind of flush them down in there, because the LCD needs to be flush right over the top of this body here and the side here for it to be perfectly aligned and centered. So do that, and then this one here as well. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and give both of these shell, the top and the bottom, a really good cleaning. And I'm looking, you know, I might actually change the bottom of this one, because the serial port is gone, a serial sticker, and the corner is a little chipped here, because I do have a replacement that I did another unit. So I think I'm gonna actually use a different one for the bottom here. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead, give these a clean, and I'll be back in a second. All right, while the shell is drying, let's go ahead and prepare the board here. The LCD, actually, these we got 1, 2, and 3. So these 3 little tabs, they actually need to be cut down flush with the body. They're pretty easy to cut down. Just take your X-Acto knife. It's probably the most useful tool doing these mods here with the Game Boys, because you gotta cut a bunch of stuff. So the way I do it is just put the screen on the table. Well, no, with the ribbon cable down. Let's do it this way. And you want to be gentle with the screen, but just put it down and kind of work in back and forth your X-Acto knife, and it's gonna cut down nice and flush in there. So I'll just cut it down. So see how it was, and then you cut it down to basically match the height of the body. So do that on all 3 sides here. And the last one. All right, so nice and clean. So with those cut off, let's go ahead and put this to the side, and we'll get our ribbon cable that we need. This is a 32 pin, so this is going to be this one here. Let's go ahead and put that in. So this is going to be, nope, what am I doing here? There we go. I was confused for a minute. So you're going to be holding the board like this, so with the pins facing up, put it in there and lock these little pins down. Be careful not to break them. So lock them down, and this will fold in like this. and this is going to be the touch sensor. So we're going to go ahead and solder on the 3 wires here to the left, right triggers and the select button. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so, and what I like to do is, so for the left, it's going to be TP9 here, just slightly, because sometimes there's a little bit of protective layer on there. Most of the time it's clean, but sometimes you just want to kind of scratch it off if there's anything on there. I'll just go over it, just in case. That way it's going to accept the solder a little better. And we'll do it for the select button. For the select, it's going to be TP2, so test point 2, just right above the start here. So for left, it's going to be TP9. For right button or trigger or shoulder pad, shoulder button, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be TP8. So let's go ahead and introduce a little bit of solder on it. So I'm going to do a dab of flux here. And we're just going to dab just a bit of, take it easy here, solder. This is a big tip I have on here, but you'll be alright for now. So just a little bit here. Alright, and we're gonna introduce a little bit of solder on the flex cable as well. I already have some on here. You can just add a little bit of solder on the tip and just dab it. And if you have good flux, it's gonna stick right on there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our cables. So we'll get the first one here, and this is gonna be, what do we got here? So we got the left, so we got select on the far left, select, left, and right. So we'll go ahead and start with the right button here. Just give it a quick tab. Add some more solder. Sometimes the solder likes to stick up. I like to have a nice clean ball, so you need good solder. There we go, or good flux. And this is going to be the right, so in the right cable or right pad, it's going to go to TP8 here, so it's going to be the right shoulder button. Add some more flux, and flux is your friend, and don't be shy. I really should put on a smaller tip here, but it's already hot, so we'll keep it. And then we're gonna go ahead and left. Make sure it's left. Yes. Give it a quick tab here. And that's gonna go to TP9. So these are test points. Test point 9 here. Keep bumping the camera. Okay, and then the last one, we have our select. And that's going to be test point 2, TP2. Give it some more flux. And we'll clean up the flux a bit later with some isopropyl alcohol. All right. Okay, so that's basically all we need to do with soldering. So I'm just gonna go ahead, plug in the cable into the LCD, and I just want to give it a quick test. So put the flex cable in there, nice and gentle. Come on. And put the flap down and lock into place. Okay. So with that in place, I'm gonna go ahead and give it some power here. All right, so we're at 3.5 volts, 3.5. Turn it on. There we go. And like I said, it's gonna be the brightness sensor here. Turn it all the way up here. So everything looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the chill, and we're gonna test fit the screen, kind of make sure everything's lining up nicely, and the screen is gonna be centered inside the shell. Okay, so I have the shell here, nice and clean after a quick bath. So I can go ahead and put on the screen adhesive that goes on here. Now I'm gonna keep the top paper on here so you can still test fit the screen. I'm just gonna take off the bottom. Okay, so this is gonna go, let's see here. I guess it really shouldn't matter because these are really meant for the IPS kits. As you can tell, it's a bit bigger, but it fits good. It's gonna keep the LCD in place. All right, so again, keep the top film on adhesive. Don't take it off yet, because I still want to test fit the screen and make sure it's nice and centered. And be gentle with the LCD. Okay. So like fits in there nice and snugly. And like I said, that ribbon cable here, as you can tell, it goes right in here. So it's a little bit in the way of the speaker, but the speaker just goes right underneath. You can slide it right underneath and it fits perfectly. So, and to align the screen, you basically want to go right up in this corner here. So up on the top and as much as possible to the left. So top and left. That's going to be pretty much dead center of the screen here. What I'm going to do is temporarily put the bottom shell in here instead of connecting the power supply. So drop that in, and I'm going to put 2 batteries in. Put some batteries in here. Okay, so that already powered on here. So like I said, if you push it right up this corner here, up into the left, I'll turn up the brightness. It should be nice and centered. Let's give it some more brightness. There we go. So that's pretty good, really good. Okay, so I guess we can go ahead, turn that off, and I'm gonna unplug the LCD for now. Get the cable out, get the LCD out. So make sure the bottom is clean here, because we're gonna go ahead and take the film off the LCD, and you don't want no dust or if any fingerprints. So once you take it off, don't be touching it, just hold it by the edges like this. So make sure you got no dust on here. First, I'm gonna go ahead and take the top film off. It's gonna expose the adhesive, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take this film off the LCD, nice and clean. So I'm just gonna go ahead, put it in up in the corner and down. Usually I would add some hot glue up against this corner here. So I would put the screen flush with something, hold it right in there so it's nice and tucked in the corner, and then I would add a little bit of glue to keep everything in place so it doesn't shift back. All right, so that connected, we're pretty much all done with soldering and everything here. So you got to put in buttons. I'm gonna go get the batteries out here. I'm gonna give it a good clean with IPA, clean all the contacts, make sure all buttons register good, and we'll start assembling it, putting it back together. Now what I do is the film you take off from the LCD is I put it right over the top of this board and the screen here. Make sure it's nice and straight like that, because you don't want any short circuits. You know, if this board comes down and touches anything here, just for safe practices, just put that in there, keep everything neat. And I actually did add a little bit of hot glue in the screen here just to kind of keep it in place. Like I said, I want it as much as possible in that corner. Okay, so I went ahead and washed all the buttons and the rubber membranes. So let's go ahead and put that in there. And don't forget your light post or LED little post here. That goes right on the top of here. All right, so with all the buttons in, let's go ahead and fold this in. You just want to keep all the cables away from those contacts. You don't want to get it in the way. That way your buttons won't be registering. All right, not the best cable management here, but it works. Let's go ahead and put it in there. And like I said, for the speaker, as you can tell, if you just push it straight down, those cables will kind of be a little bit in the way. So what I do, I take some needle pliers, and if you just take it and guide the speaker right underneath the ribbon cable there. If you go underneath, just push it in there, it should go right in there. Let it go in. Let's go ahead and give it a little snap. There we go. So we'll go right underneath the cables and it will lay down nice and flush. Come on. There we go. And all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the bumpers. And actually, you know what I forgot? I gotta put in the foam. Usually FunnyPlaying includes a piece of foam here, but if they don't, what you can do is remove it from your old LCD screen here. This will peel off. It's actually sticky. It peels better from the top here. So it will peel off slightly. You can warm it up a little bit. It'll peel off better. But take your time, it'll peel off. And then we can stick it right back on this one. This basically kind of keeps any debris and everything coming inside your console from the battery compartment whenever you open it up and put in your battery. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, push that in there, and I'm gonna install the rest of the shoulder pads and the bumpers and the power button, and we'll I'm gonna go ahead and close it up. All right, so with everything back together, all we got left to do is put on the lens. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and pop some batteries in to give it a quick test. All right, so to adjust the brightness, hold down select, right is to go up, left to go down. All right, so the screen looks nice and centered. Everything is working. Let's go ahead and put on the screen. All right, and the lens is in. Now I had to mess around with it a little bit, take it back off, because sometimes you get a little bit of dust in there and I did not like it. So I actually took it off, cleaned it out, and had to put it back in. So I didn't record the whole process. I actually need to get some glass lenses because I only had these plastic ones left and they are terrible. Well, I don't want to say terrible, but you know, they're not as good as the glass ones because they're so easily scratched and they're just not as clear. You're always gonna have a little bit of some gunk or scratches on there that, you know, you can try to wipe off, but it just doesn't look good because I like my screens crystal clear with, you know, no dust, no particles, nothing between the lens and the screen. So yeah, I'll have to order some more, but I mean, everything else is good. I went ahead and put a game in there. I got some batteries in there. Let's test it out. Yeah, the colors are good. Everything looks good. Sorry for the glare. Right, well, thank you for watching, and you know, hope this helps somebody. And if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments below.